did you know that there is going to be one case that may upend next year's election, especially in a key swing state? This is the brink. And folks, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like me and you like what we do here. And if you love it, you can become a Daily Caller Patriot. There's a link in that description below. So a big ruling came out on Friday and it didn't really get much media attention, so I thought it'd be a great time to talk about it here. So U.S. District Judge Amy Totenberg, an Obama appointee, she issued a 135-page ruling on Friday in a case where a bunch of voters and advocates for election integrity sued the Georgia State Election Board and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, okay? Now they argued that the electronic voting machines, Dominion, that counts ballots, threatened their right to vote. Now, this suit was filed back in 2017, so it's been quite a long time we've seen one contested election happen. The state, remember, a Republican state, wanted to have the suit tossed out, but Totenberg ruled that, quote, there is sufficient evidence to believe that these machines used by the state of Georgia have substantial flaws. I mean, that is huge, okay? Now, she has made clear that she will not order Georgia to use paper ballots even if plaintiffs win in the bench trial because, and she's right on this, it is not within a single judge's power to mandate a new voting system. However, this hearing begins in January. If the plaintiffs win and the Republican-led state does not make serious changes, including, if need be, moving to paper ballots, don't you forget that on election day when these officials are on the ballots, when the people who appoint them are on the ballots, okay? Now, plaintiffs, they've presented a bunch of evidence, including an expert report that includes a list of ways in which the voting software systems could be altered by someone who gains access to the equipment, like a corrupt individual or a polling official, okay? The same findings that the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency confirmed last year, even though they said, the vulnerabilities have never actually been exploited, so calm down a little bit. I don't know, I guess I don't want to calm down when there's a chance that something could happen. So why does all of this matter? If the judge finds that the plaintiffs are right, that there are very, big, major weaknesses that do threaten their right to a safe and secure election, and the state doesn't fix it, there is no reason to believe that elections anywhere are safe and secure. Also, I'm kind of curious, why would state officials want to dismiss this case? If they too believe in free and fair elections, shouldn't they welcome the opportunity to double down on these safety measures? Now, a big ruling coming out of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. So the court struck down a Maryland law that regulates handgun licensing. So under current state law, a person has to get a handgun license and pass a safety course, a background check, and wait up to 30 days. Now, the court overturned it, saying it doesn't pass the Bruin test, which says that all firearm regulations have to be consistent with historical precedent, right? That was set back last year in the Supreme Court case. Now, the court ruled that the extra requirements are an unnecessary burden on the Second Amendment. One judge on the three-judge panel dissented, writing that the majority was taking a, quote, hyper-aggressive view of the Second Amendment. Hyper-aggressive. That is how the left wants you to see Second Amendment supporters. Aggressive, right? Because when I hear aggressive, I think dangerous. And that is exactly the connotation that they want you to make, right? That phrase is important. Words matter. But you know what's aggressive? Aggressive is a slew of laws that is meant to inhibit your right to own a firearm, right? Essentially, they want to wear you down, right? Until you give up because the process has become too cumbersome and too long, right? And it's the same thing here in New York. I received my concealed carry years ago before we enacted similar legislation, but my sister had to take a course. She had to go through training. And don't get me wrong, was it beneficial? Absolutely. In fact, I am also going to be signing up for some classes soon just because I would like a refresh, right? I'd like to see if there's anything that I can learn. Maybe there's something I don't know. But the wait period is ridiculous. The government is telling you that you must wait to exercise your right. And it's not like it's a reasonable wait time either. It's not like it's like, we just need 5 to 10 days, which maybe you could concede, right? I waited 8 weeks. Okay, that's 2 months. And that was short compared to some other people because my dad waited more. I think he waited, it must have been like 7 months. 7 months. Are there any other rights that you have to wait weeks or months to exercise? Of course not. Our founders never wanted that. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, suddenly there's this exception, there's this caveat, right? Well, you can only exercise it if X, Y, Z. That is surely not what the founders intended, right? The point of the rights being enshrined in the Constitution was so that you could always exercise them. And this is all part of a larger plan, I think, because what they want to do is they want to scare the next generation, right? Make them believe that firearms are, bad, unnecessary, aggressive, right? This generation, this current one, will eventually die, and their guns will either be sold off or handed down. But who takes them? Well, if it's their children, why not indoctrinate them now, right? Tell them that guns are bad, they should be banned. And those kids will then sell them back to the government, the buyback program. You condition the next generation to be scared, to trust that the government will protect them, and you clear the way for an armless society. And they do this by vilifying the current generation, right? They're hyper aggressive. They don't care about innocent children. You know the whole spiel. You hear it every time that there was a shooting, right? You are actually the villain. Even if you're just a law-abiding gun owner who's never killed anybody, you're the villain. And once everybody has been successfully programmed, I'm sure this is what Hillary Clinton wants, you will see the likes of tyranny, which you have never seen before, guaranteed. And this is what I mean when I say, folks, that we are on the brink. We are on the brink of losing the fundamental rights that we are supposed to be protecting and defending, right? Our founders laid out the rights that we should have because they said, you know what? These are the key components to a free society. These are what the people need to have because we know one day when a government becomes too powerful, these are the things that they want to strip down to get more power. And they're right. We're, 200 plus years later, and they try to take our First Amendment down, right? With the censorship. They try to take away your Second Amendment right. I mean, they literally are doing the playbook of what the founders warned. And then there's millions of people who are complicit in it. Right? They're complacent. They're like, yeah, you can have my guns. I don't want them. You're right. They are dangerous because they're being brainwashed. They're being conditioned. And this is the brink that we're on. We are on the brink of becoming a society that loses its constitutional values. And that's why it is so important to teach your kids to value the Constitution. Folks, we will have more for you here tomorrow, right here on The Brink. But I do know it's Thanksgiving. So in case none of you guys tune in, I hope everybody has a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. We'll probably dive into a bit of more larger topics, some really important ones that I just like to read about a lot. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Folks, see you tomorrow.